What is up, everybody? It's your boy Raven, and Joe is, of course, with me as always for the live streams on Saturdays. Couple of things to run through. For anybody who's followed me on social media knows that last week COVID took me out, and this week still not looking great. Still a little bit under the weather. Like in the mornings, it's the snot's coming out, the stuff's being coughed up, and then kind of off and on throughout the day. So that's what's been going on. Also, I'm kind of thinking, due to how recent events have been kind of unfolding, I'm thinking of switching this to like every 2 weeks just to kind of give myself a little bit of a breather. And I think it's let's see. I gotta look at the calendar here.
I mean, there's so much stuff.
Yeah. Something else that came up. So my dad was doing really well. Unfortunately, he and the doctors rushed his recovery, and he wound up right back in the hospital with a partially collapsed lung.
Shit.
Yeah. My little brother gave me a call last week. He is talking about flying me back down, back home. And that's going to be the first time I've been back in 14 or 15 years. So I will probably not be here for the next couple of weeks, because on the I'm taking the 25th just to kind of take a breather, and then on the 4th I'm going to be down there. So not going to be here at my home station. I'll probably be recording some like little short 1-minute videos here and there. I'll probably be just like recording videos in general for when I come back, and I'll do a big video out of that. But yeah, it's going to be the first time I've seen family in a very long time, and the whole reason for me leaving was there was just nothing in that town. I mean, there was nothing there. Everything shut down at like 9-10 o'clock, and when you're a night owl, that can kind of suck. So there's just really not much there for me. So I decided I wanted more opportunity. I wanted, just to try to get something a little better. And I ended up leaving that town, and I'm up here, and it didn't work out as planned, but at least I gave it a shot. So that much I can say I got going for me, which is cool. But also my intention was never to return. And I didn't want to return because there are a lot of bad memories there, but also I forgot about all the good stuff that happened there. And going back both excites me and it doesn't. Like, part of me is excited to go back and see family again and reunite, or reconnect with them. The other part of me is like, I know the place has changed in the past 15 years. My little brother told me all about it. And I'm like, not good. Even one of my favorite restaurants is like gone. Like, it's not there anymore.
I mean, I'm gonna make a weird avocation. Return like MacArthur. Don't return like Janis Joplin.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that you're going for something very serious, and we're hoping that things will be fine.
Yeah,
right? Of course. But if you got to go back, at least show that you're doing well, so that the people that you're visiting and you're worried about know that regardless of whatever happens, you're going to be okay.
yeah. Well, I think that's kind of the point. We want to show Dad, hey, you got to stop worrying about us. You got to start worrying about yourself now.
The reason I make the somewhat unkind comparison is, MacArthur famously say, I will return, and he's a luminary figure in American mythology, right? Janis Joplin, creative person, figure of the 1960s Woodstock era, famously went back to her hometown in glory for a big concert, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it already turned out. But if you believe the approved narratives that make the rounds, uh, her return was uh, dimmed because her very stiff conservative parents did not go for it. They
Mm,
didn't take pleasure in her accomplishments because she was a dirty hippie,
yeah.
right? And that's what I'm saying is like, you know, whether it's your own mental space or it's other people's behavior, like don't let them make the return of the prodigal son less significant than it is. That you're gonna drop everything to make the travel because you give a shit.
Yeah. And like I'm gonna say this, like like I said, going back it excites me a little more than it doesn't. It's just I guess returning and then seeing some of the changes that my family have told me about. Um, I think as my brother put it, he said it seems smaller and a little more run down. And I mean, a lot of those buildings were, you know, decades upon decades upon decades old. Dare I say, even possibly a century or two. And some of them weren't very well kept up. So it was like just fresh coats of paint kind of slapped on over old coats of paint. So, in fact, I'll give you an example. One of the places that I used to go work out, one of the gyms that and I can't believe I paid as much as I did for it, but I was paying monthly to go to this gym. It was 24 hours, and you had a little key tag that you could swipe, and then it opened. And I used to go there a lot. Like, I mean, if I was off, I was probably in that gym working out. Well, that's gone. There's nothing. That entire building, there's nothing left but the foundation, and the inside of the place was phenomenal. And I've gone in there super late at night. Of course, being a night owl, that's one of the things that'll happen. I've gone in there sometimes late afternoon, and there were very few people there. But to think that that entire building is now just gone, it is so weird to me because in my head I'm still picturing it. But I'm more excited about meeting my niece in person for the first time. That's going to be fun. I got to get a flash drive full of RPG books for her together. Uh, definitely,
Oh
definitely,
no! I
definitely
have
gonna.
some uncouth suggestions that we're gonna talk about later.
Absolutely not. No, fuck off. No, no, fuck you. I am. I am not putting the wretched verse on there. I'm sorry. It's not Miguel Sylvia. I love you to death. You are two of my favorite people in this RPG space, but I am not putting the wretched verse on there for my little niece. No. But let me show you what I will be putting on there, and I'll just kind of angle the camera down a little bit.
Woo!
Swanky.
Actually, I gotta ask you to do something for me real quick
Yeah.
before I forget because it's a really minor thing. I jokingly said it on the Twitter, but I'm serious. Show it to me. There's a Thundar the Barbarian RPG.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There's as a matter of fact, let me see if I can find it.
Like I'm
Yeah,
gonna
there
be
is a
super
Thunder.
nerdy for a minute. Like what the?
Yeah, there was a Thundar the Barbarian RPG, and let me see if I have it in my RPG books section. I know for sure I have it on my phone.
Well, while you're digging it up, look, it's a weird, small, super tiny story. I of course discovered Thunder the Barbarian on Cartoon Network as a syndicated rerun, right?
Mm,
I thought it was great, even though it was terrible, and it's in the same block with like Space Ghost and Birdman and all of its peers. And really, comparatively, it's not the greatest cartoon on a practical level, right? But
right.
if you're a gamer nerd, oh, it's amazing. And I've always told people, this is Gamma World. This is my go-to Gamma World. If
Yep.
anybody says, well, what's Gamma World like? I don't be like, well, take Cyberpunk and then, like, blow it up or something. I'm like, no, like, Thunder the Barbarian. Full stop. I mean, I guess we could add Korgoth the Barbaria to that list now. Right?
We'll
But,
see.
so I have a warm spot in my heart for the cartoon that could have been that never was, that is Thunder the Barbarian. Because you know what you and I want. You and I want that R-rated dramatic adventure. Give Thunder the Avatar treatment, but not for kids.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been. It should have been Conan the Barbarian with a laser sword in the far future. But I'm okay with the kid-friendly adventures of Thundar Ariel and Ukla the Mach as they travel from familiar city to familiar city site and fight mutants and wizards. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And honestly, I think might even be in my downloads here. World of Thundar. Here it is. Okay, it's on my phone, so I'm gonna have to try to share this with my computer, and then I'll put it up on the screen here.
Right.
Quite a thing, hell of a thing. I was really, I was kind of impressed with it.
Are you saying it's like it's better than it has any right to be?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I haven't read completely through it, so I can't really say. Like, I will say this: it amazes me that this is a thing.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, like you, I'm like, okay, Mutant Crawl Classics. There we go. Download that. This is the great thing about the app Push Bullet is I can just push things from my phone to my computer. Don't have to go and find a cable or any of that stuff. I can just push it on. Okay, here we go. It's now, keep in mind, is this the greatest thing I've ever seen? Absolutely not, but someone put it together, and I'm going to applaud their work. Is
it the greatest Thundar related material you've ever seen? Maybe.
I will let you be the judge of that. I will absolutely let you be the judge of that. And I'm going to just.
This is also the least important thing to talk about today, but I don't, like
least
I said, I don't want to forget about it.
No, and plenty of people were like, "Wait, what? What? This is a thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a thing."
I'm always surprised the number of fans of like esoteric material that come out of the woodwork. You think you're the only person who likes a thing, and like 6 other people are like, "I like that too."
There it is.
Nice.
The World of Thundar the Barbarian. This is not a PDF. It's actually a Microsoft document file.
And it was made to be compatible with Mutant Future.
Yes, Mutant Future.
Neat.
But also, you could do something like this with Mutant Crawl Classics. I mean, when you watch the cartoon, you'll see plenty of things that you can do. So, like, regardless, a magic system that is compatible with Mutant Future already exists and is available in Labyrinth Lord. It's suggested that in Section 3, spells from Labyrinth Lord rules be implemented and used. Sorcerers and, by extension, wizards are able to cast spells just as if they were on the same level of a magic user or elf in Labyrinth Lord. So cleric spells are unavailable to sorcerers. When a sorcerer casts a spell, there are 2 facets to remember, blah, blah, blah. So you've got a lot of different stuff here. And I mean, it's like 110 pages. And they took scenes from the cartoon itself and used that for art. So I don't think this is something that could be officially released.
It's just about up there with another such document that I know of. Because I thought you were going to pull out an official Thundar the Barbarian RPG.
Oh, I wish.
Like, wow.
I wish.
But there is also on the the darker corners of the internet, a Pirates of Darkwater D&D conversion, right? And of course, that makes the cockles of my heart go glee. But I will also be first to say that because it is a homemade product, right? It's not the best, and that's not because the person involved didn't love it. They obviously, labor of love. They obviously cared. It's just because, there are so many sub-disciplines of game making, not just the design, but formatting, layout, how much fluff versus how much mechanics. And oddly enough, that's my criticism of WotC's current offerings, which I'm sure we'll be talking about too. Is things like Planeswalker's Guide to Ravnica and Mythic Heroes of Theros. It's not that they're bad books. They're not. They're okay, right? It's that they are mechanics light and fluff heavy, and the fluff is not very useful. When we have fan works, it's often the opposite. They're usually mechanics heavy because they put their mechanics up front and personal because they know that's what you want to see. And then they're fluff light because they're assuming that you've just seen the cartoon, right? It's like, I'd love to play your thing, but I actually need that context that the cartoon didn't give to the setting. Could you please round it out a bit?
The like with this particular one, someone had just provided it for Mutant Future, and Mutant Future, that PDF I just kind of ended up with on accident. I don't remember exactly how it ended up in my cart. All I knew is I ended up it ended up in my cart. I bought it and realized it only too late after I paid for it. And I was like, well, it was like, what, $5 at the time. It was on sale. I was like, you know what? I'll hang on to it. And if it sucks, I just won't play it. But I did look at it and I was like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I like it. So I held on to it. I didn't make a fuss about it. But speaking of making fusses on DriveThruRPG, oh my gosh. Oh, I cannot believe after everything that's happened. In fact, I just caught Eric Tenkar's video about this particular thing that we're going to talk about, which is the Red Room being taken off DriveThruRPG. I'm not surprised that it happened. How can I put this? I'm a little more shocked that, well, I don't know. Like I'm sitting here and I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, had I gone through with Wretched is the New Black, this would have been a blow to me personally. It still is, because I'm going to say this. Most of the stuff that I've purchased from the Red Room has either come from Big Geek Emporium or Lulu. Like, very rarely have I ever purchased it on DriveThruRPG. This is one of those things that, as a matter of fact, speak of the devil. Miguel,
am I the devil?
You are,
and to Sylvia. Oh man,
and Sylvia.
This podcast is live now.
This just got live, y'all. We had just gone into you guys being kicked off DriveThruRPG, and I was just saying, personally, all the stuff that I've purchased from the Red Room, most of it has been through either Big Geek Emporium or Lulu. Very rarely did I purchase anything off DriveThru, but that Men was the exception here, because I went ahead and picked it up. 28mm RPG was up, and
Facebook.
I was I'm not gonna lie, when I read it, I was like, I'm never gonna run this because I don't have the right group of people. But it was, to me, it was hilarious because I love stuff like that. It's so over the top. You cannot if you take it
it's
seriously, you just have to lack a sense of humor.
I
it's
don't think I
witchcraft.
could run it as well.
Yeah, it's
Well, maybe I
witchcraft.
could run it once.
They heard us talking about them, and they instantly came through the ether. The darkness of the beyond has heard us.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up, Sylvia? It's just like I'm looking at this, going, what humorless piece of fucking woke ass garbage decided to report this? You know,
Well,
I mean,
let me-
we've got worse games up on DriveThruRPG out there, and I think where one of the things I don't think people are talking about, and I want to bring this up first, when personally I see a game like Thirsty Sword Lesbians, which has forced conversion and that sort of thing, things I find objectionable, my reaction is that game is shit, move on. I'm not going to give Evil Hat money for the privilege of reporting them. But somehow it's like somebody keeps giving you money to report you. They keep paying you to try to get you kicked off DriveThruRPG.
Well, two things, just real quick, and then I'm gonna give the floor over to guests, because oh my god, guests, we never have guests. The two things that need to be clarified real quick, so the detractors have nothing to detract on, is in pure business-based technicality, right? Even without stupid legislation that we have in America, because we got some stupid legislation. I hate the idea that corporations are people. You always have the right to refuse business, right? And that's one thing. But you have to operate in a fair and even-handed manner. And as has been posted and discussed and hashed out, there's a lot of hinkiness about this. Maybe not illicit, but at least unethical in practice. The targeting. Because somebody complained, and then they're like, well, we're just going to use this excuse to get rid of you people because you insulted us. That's BS. The other thing is, I'm as Sylvia and Miguel know, I'm real quick to say this is not a good game, bad game argument. This is not about is men good. That's somebody else's problem. We can hash that out to personal picadillos forever. I will say the Red Room doesn't make bad products in my experience. You guys don't. You guys make great products. But, is men for everyone? Probably not. Probably not. This is does anyone have a right to curate the market for anyone else? And my argument is an emphatic no. Nobody has a right to look at a product like your product is offensive and not allowed in the marketplace anywhere. Because we all know Big Geek is growing. It's going to be big one day if its grades are good enough, right? Lulu exists for now, but to be at the Wilds of Fate because the biggest RPG marketplace said everybody else is fine, including the offensive thirsty lesbian book, but you are the leper. That's not good. That's unacceptable. They don't get to do that. The invisible hand of the market gets to do that. If people didn't want it, the Red Room wouldn't make money. That's supposed to be the mechanism.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Makes more sense, at least.
Right.
Well, apparently they're a private company, so can do whatever they want.
Well, because in
That's
America,
always the
they're people.
excuse.
That's one of the things I did want to bring up was like Wizards of the Coast, like Hasbro, like Chaosium, like Evil Hat, like Artel Saurian. Yeah, they are a private company, and yes, they can make their own policies. That is true. However, I think Grim Jim was right in his assessment. When you have a near monopolistic hold on the market, then you also bear responsibility to not be some ultimate arbiters of morality here. And I think like the way, as I understand it, the way Twitter works is if someone's posting something illegal, and I'll cite an example here. There was a post I came across probably about 3-4 months ago. This is one of the rare times I actually reported this post. this guy was on there arguing no one should be prosecuting those who steal catalytic converters from cars because these people are underprivileged. Then he went and posted step by step how to actually do it. That is illegal, and that's not something that is allowed under the rules. So I reported it, and it didn't take long for them to actually get rid of that particular account because he posted something illegal. That there is actual legislated codified law around that. Another one that I reported was a guy who was like literally threatening me with physical violence. Now, do I really think he's gonna deliver on that? No, not really. He's gonna find himself in a world of hurt, and rather than feeding into it, I was just like, no, that one needs to be reported too. So anybody else that's come up to me and started, being annoying, I've just muted them or blocked them and just moved on about my day. But when you're posting something illegal, that's a different story. When you're posting something as over the top as this is akin to a record store chain or some place like Walmart saying we won't carry Guar's albums because they're violent and they incite people to violence and all this other stuff. And it's like the violence in their music is so cartoonish and over the top, you cannot be taking this seriously.
I mean, they give you a splash guard at their concerts because a man is going to hold a giant rubber penis and ejaculate non-specific fluid all over the concert goers. This is not serious.
I mean, they fed Jerry Springer to the Gorgor, and Jerry's fine. Jerry's okay. They just pushed him in. They just pushed him into an entrance backstage. Come on.
In matter of points, though I would not put the Red Room on this level. I hate trauma movies. Men is no worse nor better than Wednesday the 14th or Surf Nazis Must Die or Toxic Avenger. It's stupid fun. And
That's it.
And it glorifies its offensiveness. And that's okay.
That's it. There's a section on farts for. There's a section on farts. Look, I'm not lying. Last week I'm reading this and I am cracking up. So I'm in between coughing fits while I'm reading this, and I'm in the mix of coughing and laughing. I can barely breathe, and I'm just sitting there going, "This is so over the top."
That happened the first time Miguel read it, and now while he was editing and doing the layouts, he just started laughing.
I watched Nick Beardy's review of the situation, and I about
a great review.
Well, they were talking about the situation, which means they had to dig into the book, and I about died at just the idea that combat resolution is sure we can use dice, but real men determine it by dick size. It's like, oh my god, yes.
One of the worst things I think this year is DriveThru is supposed to be a store, right? And we are paying them to sell our books there, but they are acting like somehow that we are kind of, I don't know. It's not really the relationship that they should have with the publishers, because they are acting as publishers as well.
Yes, if we work for them almost.
Yeah.
They
are
thought
the
that
publisher and we are just.
On the answer they gave Grim Jim on the whole situation was like, we were allowing them to make money.
Oh yeah, I saw that that video last night, and I'm actually appalled at some of their response. I'm sure that someone somewhere thought, well, this is the most diplomatic way we can respond, and I'm sitting there with my head in my hand going, that is the most condescending bunch of bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
Hey, look, I think if it can be done, we have Grim Jim give the letter responses he got to Legal Eagle and just ask the question, in your position as a lawyer, would you have allowed your clients to respond in this way? right?
Um,
Because from a
I don't know. When it comes to Legal Eagle, he's had some legal takes that I disagree with.
Oh,
Largely.
absolutely.
But I'm not a lawyer, so I can disagree, but I may not even have all the facts.
My,
So
my thing is he's a specialist in business law and admits it, whereas like legal kimchi does not, right?
true.
And the question is not, is this the correct response? The question is not, is this the corporate response? The question is this the response you, their lawyer, in a hypothetical scenario, would let into the wild with how this looks for your company and their metrics? Because my answer is no. That's not the response I would give. Boilerplate is safer.
Yeah, I think when it comes right down to it, the responses that they gave were like that of a parent. And it's like, okay, drive-through, you're a business, you're not our parent. So stop acting like it. It didn't make any sense to me. And personally, like I said, when it comes right down to it, this is like the analogy I want to give is that of a video store. And for those of you listening right now that don't remember video stores, that was a place where you could go and rent movies, take them home, watch them, and then return them. That was a very long time ago. Similar to Redbox, but it was like a big building. And what happened was back then, those video stores did have an adult section. You had to show ID to get in there. Once in, then you could choose to rent whatever you wanted, buy whatever you wanted, take it home, and then return it.
Here you don't have to show ID. You could just, well, they probably looked at you, and if you looked too young,
if you looked a little too young, yeah, they'd probably card you. If not, then they'd let you through. Or if they just knew who you were, that was another thing. But if they didn't know you or you looked a little too young, they were going to ask for ID, make sure you were at least 18 or older, at least here in the States, and then you could get in. And this is akin to an adult video section being there and someone getting wind of a title like, say, Intercourse with the Vampire, and suddenly showing up and protesting that particular video must be removed. It needs to be removed now. Our children could end up seeing this, and then they remove that video. Meanwhile, there's still an adult section. It's like, what's if you're going to remove that, what makes the rest of the adult section safe? And
what's more is that you still have things in the regular consumption section that are like punch stomach, balls, throw up. It's
yeah. I'm like,
men isn't even the most severe thing in the adult section. So what the hell?
Yeah, that's there's not really what the things that may be offensive there are basically words that people find offensive.
I mean, I've jokingly implied it was the titties, but the thing is, you have other books with titties.
It mentions things, but it's not really descriptive. It doesn't describe sex. It doesn't describe rape. It doesn't describe violence. Not that much. Well, in a caricaturized way, it's.
You
funny.
Dared to describe women as equipment. How dare you?
Well,
that's just funny.
That's it.
And okay.
That's hilarious.
Sylvia's sitting there saying it's funny and it's hilarious.
Yeah, right. I was reading that part, and the woman catapults, and how you can use humans to build something.
And that's the part I hadn't gotten to yet.
Yeah,
so I was like,
spoilers.
Something that I don't think I've mentioned yet is that the guy who wrote this, he told me that yesterday maybe. This was written during a week, and he wasn't alone. He was he was at home. He was angry about stuff, obviously, but he wasn't alone. He was with a girl. So she helped him write.
It was his girlfriend. When he said it was not, she was not his property.
Yes.
Oh wow.
It was a normal relationship, I suppose. But she was helping him with this. So there was feedback from a woman to write this game. So
But the woman with a sense of humor, how dare she?
yeah, probably.
And the thing that I got was like from the video I watched on Tenkar's Tavern earlier was Tenkar was kind of going like I think he was being just a touch unfair here when he was going on about this particular section, which I was kind of like, wait, I hadn't read the whole thing, so this is probably going to be something I missed. And when he was going on about that part in particular, it seemed like he was taking it entirely too seriously, and I'm like, this is not something you take this seriously, guys. This is
You mean
this is
women can get
cartoonish.
levels? 'Cause
I was like, geez,
I
and
don't think he has a sense of humor.
I don't think that was the correct approach. That's why I'm saying it was a touch unfair here because that's what this was. It was complete satire, and if DriveThruRPG had just said, okay, we understand that this is a work of satire, but it is kind of over the top. Could they have instead just, yeah, yes, Cal, these rabble rousers are with us today and always because we are big Wretchedverse fans.
Oh
you
yeah.
can see by my T-shirt today. Well, it was
Bad
an accident,
decisions.
but
Bad decisions as always. But it seems like there were a fair number of, there had to be at least one or two people with a huge stick up their ass to see this and go, oh my God, this can't be allowed to exist.
no. First thing, let's say that Miguel didn't write it. Because
Right.
people are thinking that
Again.
That Miguel wrote it.
he
Right?
wrote it, and they wrote it on purpose to
I
put
wish
down
I
the
had.
drive-through.
I mean, look, if you had, it would just say an altogether other set of things about how kinky and special you two are.
Yeah,
And,
but
Yeah,
and you
of course.
didn't.
Well, yeah. I think if someone reads that and reads some of the other books, they will notice that the style is completely
Oh
different.
yeah,
and,
the style
and
is
also
completely
better.
different. I mean,
And
all
better.
the Wretchedverse offerings that I have in my library so far, they do have a distinct style to them. When you read Men, it is a complete departure
Yeah.
from that. That is not the writing style of Miguel and Sylvia, ladies and gentlemen.
and if it was, we wouldn't say it wasn't.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
wouldn't make any sense. We are publishing it. Why? If you are
Well,
publishing it,
Why? Because we are
there's
afraid to
no.
say it was us.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
stupid.
ladies and gentlemen, let me show you something. If this were not, or if this were the work of Miguel and Sylvia over there at the Red Room, let me just pull this up real quick. I'm going to show you something, and I'm going to argue they would have absolutely owned this. And there's one reason I know this to be true, and thank goodness we are not monetized. So, and we will be. If we will be on other platforms showing this.
Well, Susan's stepping down, so now we got to worry about the new guy. The
Oh.
new boss, same as the old boss.
Yeah, I don't give a fifth of a shit. So here we go. I'm going to be putting this up on screen, and I'm gonna offer. Okay, so I know there are people that are going to be like, oh no, they wrote this and they're trying to hide it, and I'm going to be like, okay, well then explain this one thing to me, because I think it's about time someone did. Here we go. How if Men were written by these two, how would they not have owned it when they've published this? And
Nice
believe
cover.
it or not,
I still think it's a nice cover.
Yeah.
yeah, I actually I showed this picture, just the picture of the cover to my boss. And there's a coworker that we have. He is, behind the scenes, this guy is like crude as oil, man. And I said, you got to show him this. I think he'll love it. And then when I finally saw him again, he went, dude, and he pulled it up on his phone. He goes, what the fuck is this? I said, believe it or not, that's a game. That's a game. He's like, seriously, this is something you could play. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. This is a game. This is actually an adventure published for Wretched Bastards.
And this one was reported. But DriveThru said there's nothing wrong with it.
Wait, whoa. Okay, so that one was reported, and DriveThru said there was nothing wrong with it.
Yes, it was in the adult section.
Yeah, that in this case it's just a cover, so it's
It was just the cover, and this is actually a dungeon crawling adventure, and I can tell you from having actually seen the inside of this book, 100%. It's the most offensive thing about it is the cover. So someone had to purchase that and then report it, because, as I understand it, if DriveThru is to be believed, you cannot report something you haven't purchased.
yeah.
I mean,
I don't think I believe that.
I don't either.
I mean,
I'm just saying.
you have the same fundamental
Maybe
problem.
labia, yeah. But man,
Labia was cheap. Yeah.
yeah, maybe. But man costs $15, and they reported on the first day, and though it sold some copies, I can't remember how much, but not that many. So I don't know.
Well, here's the
And-
thing: is you get the same result with Sexual Holocaust, right?
Yeah, I was going to pull that up next.
Everybody split it out. Sexual Holocaust. I got it, right? I cracked it. I read it. It's a well-made product, right? It does what it's supposed to do, right? But is it the most extreme stuff that I have ever seen? No. It's actually
the new version.
It's actually
This was the version that was initially
Oh yeah,
reported.
that's true.
and
This was the cover. Like, in physical, this is the cover that I have,
Mhm.
and that was later updated for free
It's-
to this cover, which I'll pull up now.
but the thing is that I would go so far as to suggest that literally the complaint was the use of the word sexual adjacent the word Holocaust
Holocaust, yep.
visually.
Yeah, probably.
Like, oh
Probably.
no. And it's like, if that's your biggest problem with the content here, you have a problem.
But then I think on the part of the guys who reviewed it, probably because you say that
Safety tools are
safety
stupid.
tools are silly. Yeah, probably that was the most important thing there, because it's here. It's nothing special. There are much worse things for other games.
Quite frankly, there are worse things in your filmography of selected works.
Oh yeah,
Right?
definitely.
Tons of and this is the thing. This particular adventure was for Retchsploitation. Retchsploitation is a game based on like the old grindhouse exploitation movies, and those are movies that I do love. I tell people before I invite them to my Plex server, I've got a lot of those movies on there. So if there's something you don't want to see, just skip it.
Well,
I don't put a filter on that.
This is going to sound funny. I have tried to explain the Red Room to my peer group more than once, and I'm always kind of at a loss for words because of the breadth and width of what they produce. And the closest description I have come to is grindhouse RPGs.
That's
because
true.
Because it's entirely the kind of late night creature feature drive-in or small adult movie theater kind of gaming experience where it's like,
That's
you're going to
it.
play this. It's a guilty pleasure. You're not going to advertise it too
Oh,
loud,
fuck that.
but
No,
it's
no,
a
no.
wonderful time.
No, my official stance is no guilty pleasures. If I like something, I fucking love it.
Oh no, I
And-
know. If you're the kind of person that loves it, you love it. But I'm just saying, like, I 100% believe there are people who went and they got Sexual Holocaust because they had to know how bad could it be, and then
They
once
were
they
probably
had it,
disappointed.
right, and then once
Yeah.
they had it, they were like, well, I got to try it now. I got to play it so I can say
In
that
fact-
I played the awful thing, and then had a wonderful time. But they don't like advertise they did it because that makes them feel bad to admit that they had fun playing an awful game of awful things.
Well, I'm going to say the Sexual Holocaust. When Miguel and Sylvia initially started giving the synopsis for it, they said it's a lot like Hellraiser. That's what
Right.
snapped it for me. I was like, yeah, okay, if it's like Hellraiser, I want to see it. And as I read it, I realized it kind of resembles Hellraiser Inferno a little bit, which, in my opinion, was it a different Hellraiser movie? Yes, but I think it was one that deserves a little more love than what it gets. And it was really good. This one operates like a neo detective type of adventure, a neo-noir detective type of adventure with Hellraiser kind of thrown into the background of it. And it was one of the first looks I got at the Beyond, at the Apostles of Pain and stuff like that. As a matter of fact, when it comes to the game Men, I will give you a really good what I think it resembles. And let me just pull this up because I'm going to show these because they are on YouTube. So,
well, look, I'm just going to suggest while you're pulling it up that Men is a sexual Holocaust prequel. It's about the rise of Carnifex as a mortal, and that's why nobody likes him.
Okay, so here we've got this. I'm going to share this in just a second. I'm going to go back to my StreamYard and share this because this to me is funny. This is exactly what I think. This is exactly what I think this kind of thing is, and it's this. Just going to blow this up.
What are you waiting for? What if everything you ever wanted came in a rocket can? Power Thirst! Rocket! With all new flavors like banana, Fizzbit, and gun! You've had the worst, now try the first! Quencher! Power Thirst! Side effects include glowing sweat. Use your sweaty body to fuel sweet rave parties! Power Thirst! Anything is possible! Oh! Air blasting! A sport you'll invent because you'll be too energetic for normal sport. You'll feel like a fighter jet made of biceps! What about me and my blue collar? Juice Spicy! Turn that everyman into a Bevery man! Bevery stands for Bevery! We interrupt this advertisement to blow your mind! Power Thirst now comes in women! Now with preposterous amounts of testosterone! Preposterone! Think fast, douche fag! Power Thirst now comes in dubs! Oh, Humpcatting! Similar to bear blasting! Oh Lord, why have you forsaken me? Cannon! When God gives you lemons, you find a new God! Power! King of the Jews! Unacceptable! Drink Power Thirst and you'll win at everything forever! You'll win at running, football, arson, weddings, and art! You'll even win at irony! Oh! Top score! Still unconvinced? Well, check out these testimonials from real Power Thirst drinkers.
400 babies.
Power Thirst. It's really.
All right! Power Thirst. It's like crystal meth in a can. It's crystal meth in a can. Power Thirst is crystal meth. Warning, may contain
That's exactly what Men brought to mind.
Yes.
The minute I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit!"
I have put a link in the private that I think is related. It is another ad.
Let's see what this is.
Kind of.
Okay, let me just
This is also a good because this is a conversation that Sylvia was having, and I don't think she's seen this.
Oh, this one I gotta share. Then I gotta put this up on screen. I've never seen this before, so I have no idea what I'm getting myself into.
Oh, these guys are great.
Okay, here we go. Play.
Ah, yeah, the greatest.
You kids look like you could use a delicious fruity beverage.
Who are you?
Might I suggest Fizzy Pop's Grape Blast, the new soda from Johnson and Hedges. Open wide, kids, because I've got a grape in the mouth.
He's going to what them in the mouth?
He's going to grape them.
He's going to grape them.
Yeah, in the mouth.
Right.
Sure. There's more.
No, I'm sorry. All right, well, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with the catchphrase, I'm going to grape you in the mouth for our new mascot. I mean,
yeah, we might want to workshop on it.
Really? Why? That's his thing. He grapes people. He grapes people in the mouth.
We're just not exactly sure that.
He sneaks into little kids' rooms in the middle of the night, and he grapes them in the mouth.
Okay, see, because I think that the reason that I'm a little hesitant is because to me, it sounds like he's saying To me, it sounds like he's saying he's going to rape them.
What? Oh. No. No. What? No.
I'm sorry.
Sir, get your mind out of the gutter. I was a great gonna rape a kid. What are you talking about?
But it sounds like
It's a great commercial. I love it. He like rapes the kids.
Hey, I mean, if I'm in the minority here, we can keep going.
Come here, kid! I'm gonna fire the radiator and grape me out!
Okay. What? Why'd you stop it?
I'm gonna tie you to the radiator and grape you.
What?
I'm going to rape you. No, that's what it sounds like he's doing.
Are you back on this rape thing again?
Why was he gonna tie them to a radiator?
That's how he grapes people. That's what he does. No, he's the rapist.
The rapist? That's his name?
The Grapist. Classic.
This is obviously a rape scenario.
What? Why are you trying to twist a children's soda commercial into your weird, sick, sort of twisted, pervy?
Why were they running? Why was that child screaming mom?
Well, that kid is a horrible actor, and the next time we shoot the commercial, we're going to use somebody else, because the thing is...
These kids were obviously horrified.
Not that girl. Look, she's totally asking for it.
What?
Oh, look at her. She's begging to get graped.
Will you listen to yourself?
Look what she's wearing.
Look what she's wearing?
It's purple.
Oh. Okay. No!
Rape those kids. I love it.
Look, do you guys want the commercial or not?
Yes, we want the commercial. Of course we want the commercial.
We want it. Here's the paperwork.
I just have some serious reservations about this whole thing.
Do you mind?
No, not at all.
Buy some today and get a free grape whistle.
A grape whistle? Really?
Okay, when I finish graping you, I'm gonna go upstairs and I'm gonna grape your mother and your father, and then I'm gonna take your whole family down to the basement and grape you all for decades and decades.
See, I think this is too much. I think it's too much.
Shh.
Jeez. That went way dark. Oh my gosh. Oh.
It's even in the titles. Okay, seriously. When I'm talking to newbies and I'm trying to explain World of Darkness, something like Vampire the Requiem is a game of gothic horror because it's on the cover, right? Yeah. Werewolf the Forsaken is a game of savage storytelling. It's like, okay, it's on the cover. What is Men? Men is a manly game of manly men.
It's a game made out of biceps.
Right. It is clearly a satire and the most base, glorious kind of satire. Because
you have to take a step back and just look at it for a moment. This is just a monolithic juggernaut of all the worst stereotypes of men and completely turned into cartoonish form. That's what makes it funny. I can't believe I'm even having to explain this. I can't.
And people,
I can't even.
This is against women. Yeah, but it's also making a lot of fun of men.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's like someone out there needs a sense of humor, a real sense of humor. And I think this banning goes to show there's an old adage that when you lose one sense, you heighten another. And these people have absolutely lost their sense of humor and gained a heightened sense of self-importance.
I mean, as we're talking about it, I am now sad face, having just laughed so much, because now I don't think we'll get the implicit follow up to Men, the Toxic Masculinity Handbook, which would clearly be the next step.
I'll try to convince the author to do something else. But
well, we need soy, Miguel. We need soy to happen.
We need that one to be the crossover to Men, and then we also need we need one that's called Women, you know, and spelled WOMYN.
Oh God,
that one. I think it would be great.
Oh God.
Something like that series would be just hysterical in my opinion. I would probably never run it, but I would buy every one of them.
We're just encouraging the Red Room to like choke on the bone of offensiveness now.
Well, actually,
now we can, right? Now we can. It's not drive through anymore.
But I will say there is kind of a happy postscript to all of this, and it's like Grim Jim has offered to host the Red Room stuff on his website, postmort.com, which that's where I purchased. I've purchased some of his work off the site. I've purchased, in fact, a lot of the actual fucking monster stuff that you two wrote and the stuff that he wrote, I purchased from the site, both in PDF and the print-on-demand stuff I got through Lulu, of course, clicking through that site. So I got that. So he's offered to do that, which I think is great. That's huge of him, in my opinion. And here's the thing. I've never seen Varg get canceled from Amazon print-on-demand. That's the part that blows my mind. And Amazon is one of the biggest booksellers in the world. So I'm like, well, okay, if he can't get canceled from there, and he hosts the occasional PDF on mifarog.org, it's like he doesn't need DriveThruRPG to be as big as he is. So I'm thinking maybe DriveThruRPG isn't as necessary as some might think. Personally, the only reason I'm still on it is because Kickstarter's digital fulfillment goes through them. But personally, from here on out, I won't be purchasing another thing off DriveThruRPG. So I'm encouraging, especially if you're an independent creator, independent and large alike, I'm saying mirror your stuff onto Big Geek Emporium. Because if it's taken down from DriveThruRPG, you can always just redirect.
Well, here's another facet of it, because it's something else you've been advocating for. A while back, some time ago, there was a conversation making the rounds, and Basic Expert not only started a cast, made a video, but he was like, "You get your ass on this video," because I had made a point that he thought was particularly prescient. DriveThru had just partnered with Roll20, right? And I was talking about why I thought that wasn't the greatest of things. And it was basically that DriveThru had recently put in some, either DriveThru or Roll20, one of the two, I forget which, had recently put in some content warning material in their bylaws, right? And I was like, they did this for the partnership. They did this to get into that storefront. And that's something we need to be worried about, because, as we've been saying, practical monopoly, as businesses congeal, they exert more control over our freedom of choice, right? And the Basic Expert thought that this was a really important thing to comment on that wasn't making the rounds enough. Well, as well, if you guys, anybody watching, is there more than 3 people watching? If you care about freedom of speech, not even if you care about the Red Room, if you care about freedom of speech and the right to choose for yourself whether or not you consume content, and you want them to feel it, cancel your Roll20 subscription. Yep. And I hate to say it, not temporarily, cancel it for the long haul.
Permanently. Yep.
Go back to Map Tools. There will be other virtual tabletop fronts. Do that theater of the mind thing everybody's talking about. You're not even using the virtual tabletop anyway. There are free dice rollers. You don't need it.
Well, this is the thing, and I'm going to point this out. Every Saturday, every other Saturday, something like that, I take part in GM Blackwall's Horde Wars playtest. We do this online. We don't use a virtual tabletop. All we have is our character sheets, our dice, and Blackwall runs the game. Blackwall running his game is enough that we are able to mentally picture things in our heads, and whenever there's a question, we can ask, and he clarifies certain things. So if we needed a virtual tabletop, we have flirted with the idea of Foundry. Foundry,
Sophia, are you okay, or is the cat eating your face?
Hi, Kitty. Where's this old baby? Poor little thing.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you look like you're under attack.
She is being loved on
She's
by that.
sucking on my ear.
Oh,
She's
no.
needy.
I think she's trying to get the mic.
No, she likes to suck on my. She likes to suck on my earlobes.
Oh, she's still
man.
nursing. But anyway, we have flirted with the idea of using Foundry, and Foundry is one that that I've heard it's a one-time fee of $50, and you can pretty much do whatever you want with it. I would advocate, if you're going to use a virtual tabletop, Foundry is going to be the way to go, because I haven't noticed any of those morality clauses. I haven't noticed anything like that. I know that there's I've seen people play Hostile Solo using Foundry, and it's worked out pretty well for them. There are assets available. There's plenty of support there. I would say move off of Roll20, move off that monthly subscription thing, do the one-time fee, and be done with it. Or just use do what I do. I mean, if you're, and this is going to seem like a shameless plug, but it's really not. Because the shameless plug is in the description down below. You go to Against All Odds, the number 4.blogspot.com. You will actually see what I'm doing with my 4 Against Darkness game, which is just battle mat miniatures. I draw it out as I go, and then you get to see those pictures, but you get to read the story that's taking place in my head the whole time that's happening. So there are a number of different things you can do. You do not have to have Roll20. It's nice, but it's not a necessity. DriveThruRPG, ladies and gentlemen, not a necessity. And past the last Kickstarter I backed, I'm personally taking the I don't have a Roll20 account, so I'm not going to do that. That is permanently out of the question for me. Sorry about that. There's also the fact that if your Kickstarter has to use DriveThruRPG for the digital fulfillment, I'm not going to be backing it. I will wait for something else. So I know Troll Lord Games likes to use Kickstarter, and they tried to use Indiegogo. Indiegogo had some problems. They're not likely to use it again, as far as I know. But in any case, I will wait for the game to be published and available. And personally, I say, if nothing else, buy direct.
By the way, random mention on the Troll Lord Elf game combo front. My copy of Night Shift is missing. The USPS has misplaced it.
Oh no!
So I have the notification out, and I'm waiting for some kind of word back or for them to find it.
Oh, that sucks.
That's why it's not here yet.
I was like, dude, I got mine, and I was like, I'm sitting there going, I know Joe has to have his by now, but
I would have told you, but we didn't have a podcast last week because you were dealing with life. You got hit by the viral assassin.
Well, it didn't manage to take me out, but I'm going to put it this way. 3 years ago, I got hit with a bad case of viral pneumonia.
That's the thing.
I personally, I'll say this. I was coughing hard for 3 weeks until that cleared up. And I will take COVID over that any old day of the week.
Here's the thing. On the primary subject, Sylvia and I had a quick little conversation. Because I was saying, even if men's not playable, it has a right to exist. And she's like, no, it's totally playable, which I'm sure it is, without question. But gamers, TM, are also compulsive collectors, right? You look at people showing off their collections of Magic the Gathering cards and their action figures and all their other, crap and baubles. And it's like, why do you have this? Because I needed it. Why did you need it? Because I have low impulse control. Gamers are like this for game books. We'll buy the worst game. I'm sure there are people who own physical copies of Fatal in the world. Right?
Possibly.
At least one. And the thing is that whether they're playable or not, they're in your collection, and they have that little warm spot where it's like, this is mine. This is my copy of the thing they said you're not allowed to have.
Well, a friend of mine actually sent me a PDF copy of that because we were playing in Second Life and all that good stuff, and she knew I was getting back into tabletop games because I had just gotten my hands on Basic Fantasy. She pulled up Fatal and sent it to me. She goes, "This looks like fun," and I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll have a look at it." And
what's
the more
wrong
I
with your
looked at it, I
friend?
was like, "What?"
Was she trolling you? Jesus.
No, she didn't actually look. She didn't actually read it.
Oh, okay.
She just looked at it. She had heard something about like it's D&D with sex or something like that, and she instantly like, "Hey, how about this?" And I was like, "I'll look into it." And the more I looked at it, I went, "What the fuck is this?" Because this is not something I think this is not something I like. It's 900 pages. It's clunky. It does not run well. I would have an absolute nightmare trying to run this. And on top of that, I was actually pointing out some things to her and showing her, like I was highlighting certain things. She's like, "Ew." I'm like, "I know. Yeah, this is I was like, "Where did you find this?" She's like, "A friend of mine gave it to me." And I was like, You call this a friend?
I mean, by comparison, men's oily abs have merged with a realm of no friction and just slide around like greased lightning.
But that's another thing. So when we said that the game was like Fatal or was more offensive, we're obviously making a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'm right now. I'm looking at Fatal. I have never looked at this.
I'm so sorry.
And,
please don't.
The art is not that bad, I think.
The art is not bad. It's just the mechanics are
The
terrible.
layout is kind of meh, but the art is bad.
But we were making the joke because someone compared Sexual Holocaust to Fatal, which is stupid in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
and also our Wretched Bastard games.
Wretched Bastards. Okay, let's talk Wretched Bastards. Wretched Bastards is nothing like Fatal. In fact, Wretched Bastards at its core is like it sets the tone for the rest of the Wretched verse, which you're basically playing an anti-hero. And I gotta say this, like, this is why I love Wretched Space, because I could port my character Graves into it pretty easily. And that character's taken a turn because I'm still kind of occasionally playing him in Second Life. And the guy is like, you don't want to run into him while he's on shore leave, basically. And if you see him, you better, and you have a deal for him, you better get to him quickly, or else he's going to spiral out. The guy's a drug addicted alcoholic. The only time he's not doing anything is when he's either A, making deals, or B, making your run, and then he's a total dick because he's off the drinking, he's off the drugs, and he's in immense pain constantly, and that's how he deals with it. So that's an anti-hero. I mean, the guy's a scumbag, but that's what that's the kind of character you're playing. And the thing is, Pundit pointed this out, and I think it's a good point. You could easily flip these games. Instead of the 7 deadly sins, you could go with the cardinal virtues and base your character off one of those. If you don't like the alignment system, which I've seen so many of these same weirdos that are trying to, that have gotten men taken down. They hate the alignment system because no one is totally good, no one's totally bad. And it's like, okay, well, here's a system where that's the norm. That's possible, and they're saying that's offensive to them, and I'm like, oh goodness. It just goes to show you can't. There's no pleasing these people.
Well, here's my interpretation of it. So you've got the Wretched verse, right? Wretched Bastards, and then you've got Knives in the Dark. Knives in the Dark is somehow okay, but Wretched Bastards is not, right?
Oh, you mean Blades in the Dark?
Or yeah, Blades in the Dark.
Yeah, Blades in the Dark is pretty cool, but that's mechanically told in flashbacks.
Right. But then it's like, okay, well, what about other media? Well, everyone likes Han Solo, right?
Right.
Except, wait a minute, Han Solo's in Mos Eisley, a den of scum and villainy.
Yep.
Right? And in RPG verse, I've got Edge of the Empire, which is literally playing scum and villainy in Star Wars, right? And it's like, yeah, you can range from Boba Fett to Robin Hood. Why is that okay, but Wretched Bastards is not? Right? Obviously, there is a trope of essentially heroic jerk faces, where the quote good people are also the worst people. Most famous recent example: everybody loved Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy are good guys, but they're not good guys, are they? They're not members of the government. They're not cops. They are rando douchebags fighting the goodish fight for a reason. And why is it that Wretched Bastards and its various peer games are bad? Because it admits that the only reason they're doing this is for the payday, or for the, I did it all for the space boobs. Is that the offensiveness? Where's the problem?
Well, I mean, look at Wretched Country. Wretched Country mirrors the spaghetti western, the Sergio Leone films. Which I'm going to say this: I just maybe a few weeks ago finally watched the 1960s movie Django, and Django is not technically a good guy, like not at all. But I mean that movie was super violent for the 60s. That guy killed so many people. It's unreal.
Well,
I'm watching it going, this is probably one of the most amazing westerns I've ever seen. And it mirrors those kinds of westerns. This isn't the John Wayne western. That's more like Cowpuncher's territory. This is more, that.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Did you see the end of the Room with a Lock? The Giallo trilogy that Sylvia and Miguel did?
I did not. I have it. I just haven't. I haven't.
I do look like tropes. The thing is that I'm not using this as an opportunity to tout my own horn or talk about how cool I am, but I betrayed the party in a practical sense. I lured a party member into an isolated location, took him to an extra-dimensional space called the Beyond, and I offered him up to pay my rent to my vampire daddy in exchange for information. I did this to another player. That's shitty. But that's also fully in keeping with the Wretched verse.
Yeah, I mean this would be akin to like in a game of Postcards from a Villadad, or a Valadad, I'm sorry. Me like my character saying, I'll sign up for this medical experiment for the money, only to become this twisted, horrifying, thing like something out of a David Cronenberg movie. That would probably be the end result. As a player, I'm pretty much banking on something like that.
Excuse me, Mr. Wolfgar. You signed a contract. Sanguine Dynamics is not responsible for any adverse side effects due to your medical testing. You agreed to it.
This message brought to you by Pfizer.
Now, would you like to perhaps get onto our enhanced medical plan, where we can assist you with the symptoms? All you have to do is sign on to be part of our PMC, Sanguine Solutions, and we will give you arms, and equipment, and send you into supernatural hellholes to fight monsters for us.
To which my reply is,
Very good. We'll take your grunt as an exception. Please come this way. We have a place for you. And then they load you into a truck and they take you back to a facility because consent is secondary when you're a vampire.
And of all the times that Bub wants to play fetch, it's now.
Of course. Well, you grunted. He heard you.
Yeah. And I mean, like the Wretched Verse series itself, that's what an entire basis is. It's anti-heroes. It's over the top. That's what it's meant to be. The fact of the matter is, I just think DriveThruRPG has put themselves in a position where all the worst, again, Grim Jim is right, all the worst concerns that we had are now confirmed. And it won't take long because now these weirdos, they're empowered. They consider this a victory, and they're going, once they get a taste of any kind of victory, they're going to go for more.
I mean,
And no one's safe.
let me come at this from a silly, weird direction. If you think Shaft is a bad guy, you're wrong. Right? Well, working on my book, one of the Red Room accessories I purchased, or was passed to me by whatever mechanism. No, I bought it. Is Knuckles of Steel, right?
I love that one.
The blaxploitation add-on.
Yes.
And while I might play Scum and Villainy in any other Wretched game, if I was going to play Retsploitation, and we were specifically doing blaxploitation, I would play the Moral Paragon. Right?
Yeah, I would want to play. I would want to play that that sort of like Michael Jai White kind of guy
Right.
who, you know, he maybe he gets his ass kicked because he's got a code that he lives by or something like that, and he's not lifting a finger to fight because, you know, he's so deadly. And then towards the end, he's like, you know, hey, hold on this, sucker. And he turns up in the karate pants, no shirt, and a big old afro. You know, I think that's cool.
I would go more of the Casey Jones direction. I'm angry, but I've got skill, and I want to do something with it to make my neighborhood better. So my narrative is about my growth as a person, learning to control and direct that fury. And by the end, again, it's still martial arts pants, bare chests, 1v1 the super bad. Right.
It's Barry Gordy's The Last Dragon.
Right. Exactly.
Which I love.
But the thing is that because they took the Red Room off of DriveThruRPG, right? They have taken away the opportunity for anyone, POC or otherwise, to have that experience. They've literally said you're not allowed to play John Shaft because John Shaft is offensive.
Oh.
And it's like, no, anybody who's ever watched Shaft, whether the Sam Jackson or the original, Shaft is not just one mean mother. I'm just talking about Shaft. Shaft is a good guy in a bad city.
Yep.
Right.
And you have to do bad things in order to get things under control.
Right. Because it's a narrative about how messed up the system is. And this is what the extremists are always talking about. They're always talking about, the world is so bad. Everything is so bad. We have to fight for what's good. It's like, okay, give us an environment to do that.
Well,
if you believe it.
This is why I argue, like, okay, Star Trek. Let's talk Star Trek for just a minute.
Okay.
I grew up on the original series and the Next Generation. Now, for the most part, I know there are some nitpicks here, but for the most part, those two series shaped a lot of my worldview. From Nichelle Nichols, in that there's one episode where Abraham Lincoln gets beamed aboard the ship. He says something to her, realizes how insensitive that could be, and kind of sheepishly apologizes for it. She looks at him as though she didn't even take notice, and she goes, well, why should I be offended? Because in my time, we learned not to fear words.
Right.
And that was like bombshell moment for me. That was one of them. In the Next Generation, there was another episode where, people, senior citizens, are euthanized in this one civilization. Deanna's mother falls in love with this one guy, convinces him to, leave, and they're going to cancel all of his life's work, which could contribute greatly to their entire civilization, because he's chosen to live completely away from them. And it's like they do present both sides of that argument really well, and they leave it for the audience to decide.
Well,
Quantum Leap did the same thing. They present both sides of the argument, and then they left it for the audience to decide.
Well,
That's what I loved about the series.
A lot of younger consumers who grew up on the next gen era will say, "Oh, DS9 was so innovative because it said that there's people who aren't figured out in Star Trek, right?"
Mm-hmm.
If you go back to TOS, if you go all the way back to the beginning, even the writers then politely, carefully said, "Gene, you're wrong." Not because they didn't like the ideal. We all aspire to world where there's no want, no hunger, hopefully no war, and people, live for higher aspirations, right? But there's a basic thesis, a basic reality. If there are haves, there must therefore be have-nots. It's like gravity, right? Therefore, Orion pirates exist, right? And what are the Orion pirates but a bunch of wretched bastards in space who said, look, man, I ain't got no money, I ain't got no opportunity, I ain't got no friends, but what I do have is a phaser and a will to use it. I'm going to go and I'm going to take somebody else's stuff because I don't have any.
And then there's also like with DS9 in particular, Cisco was not necessarily a good guy.
Right.
I mean, he had to make.
He did a war crime.
Yeah, he did, and that episode in the Pale Moonlight where he's literally giving an entire account of what it is he did to kick off a war so that he could have his way, and then at the end of it, he says, the worst part is I think I can live with it, and I can live with it, and if I had to do it all over again, I would, and at the end of it, he looks directly at the camera and says all this stuff, lifts his glass and says, computer, erase that entire personal log. And I was like, dude, that is the most gangster thing I've ever seen a captain do.
Well, here's the thing, because this ramble is all about how cool the Red Room is. Hi, guys. We know you're here. In the world of darkness, you have a virtue and a vice, or you have a nature and a demeanor, and it's always that there's something good about you and something bad about you, right?
Yeah.
The Red Room doesn't say that you have to be a bad guy. It's not required, right?
No.
But it does say that no matter who you are, no matter how good you are, no matter how altruistic and well-meaning you are, there is something bad about you.
Yep.
On a cosmic level, there is something bad in the universe of the Red Room, right? Which is brilliant. And it's like, if you're the heroic character, it's not just about you resisting that drive, which totally happens, right? But it's about, gravity. That darkness will drag you down.
Yep.
Because you are rewarded mechanically for sin. You're rewarded for doing the evils. The evils feel good. The evils make you powerful. They make you more able to fight the good fight tomorrow. So it's really a question of how bad will you be to make your good things happen. And of course, the Wretched Verse loves it when you're bad.
That's a good point. And I mean that was the big thing between men and the Wretched Verse. The only thing, like, I'm particularly like looking at I'm looking at Big Geek Emporium right now, and there's a bunch of stuff that's just not going to be on DriveThru anymore. Like Wretched Folklore, that's one I haven't had the chance to check out yet.
Yep.
That's one that I think is, I'm a sucker for folklore, so seeing that kind of take on folklore, I think could be pretty cool.
It's also important. I mean, actually important, because weird comparisons, like The Witcher got rave reviews, not just for being a reasonably good fantasy, but because it's like, oh wait, you mean the Balkans has folklore, there's mythology and culture there? It's like, yeah, always has been, right? But it rarely gets shown in media. It just gets kind of glossed over. I work with a Romanian in my new job, and we talk about the fact that people just think that Romania is like Transylvania and everyone there's vampires. And it's like, no, there's a culture and a people there, and there are regions and all kinds of interesting history that goes on. I literally saw a post on Twitter yesterday, right, suggesting that the Balkan states didn't exist until the USSR and were invented by the West as buffers. And it's like, wait, you've never heard of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth? You've never heard of the Golden Democracy? There's a bunch of shit that goes on in that region of the world, right?
And you know what? To the point here,
right?
I do want to share this because this just came across my feed, and I was like, "This makes a lot of sense."
Well,
and we need this, and it's right here. I'm sharing it like right now. Yeah. Here it is. Role-playing games are not for the faint of heart. or not for the faint-hearted or politically correct. We demand pure escapism and unbridled entertainment, not the drivel of social justice activism. Join us in the glorious rebellion against forced diversity and embrace our core values of escapism. Hashtag RPGgate. I could not agree more. I think, and here's the thing, especially with this, I look at it this way. You have to have terrible, bad, no good, awful characters in an RPG game because it gives your hero characters impetus to fight for what they believe in.
And the reason I mentioned Witcher and all this other stuff with regards to Wretched Folklore is because at the same time, relative to I want to fight stuff and I want to have impetus to adventure, I want to see shit I've never seen.
Yep.
Right? And while some of that can be fantastic, I was actually talking because I'm working in game design on a video game now. I hate that in the most recent Mass Effect, they were like, we're going to do things all different. You're going to see stuff you've never seen before. And it's like, what is it? Floating rocks? Floating rocks is not something I've never seen before. It's not even an interesting something I've never seen before. Right? Wretched Folklore is like, hey, we're going to talk about folklore. And maybe not folklore you've seen. Maybe we're going to talk about smaller, localized beliefs that are interesting and different. I'm like, ooh. Like little tiny things that go under the radar. Because as a game player, I can actually say standard. It was standard for 30 years. First you did your European fantasy, then you did your Oriental adventures, then maybe if you were still making books, you made Africa. And it was always Egypt. Right?
Yep.
We almost never get Inner Africa and its various tribes and cultures. We never get Australia. We never really get South America. I mean, we did eventually, but it's like, because it's always a pomp move of Incan and Aztec, right?
Yeah.
We never get into like the Olmecs and the Toltecs and the deep stuff. You almost never get Native America, right?
Right.
You never get South Seas Asia like Vietnam, Korea, and the Java, right? There's so many interesting cultures and cultural nuances and areas of the world you just never see. I mean, it's shocking, but I'm serious. Wretched Epoch is revolutionary. Hi, Miguel, you're revolutionary. For not only having France, but a time period in France that doesn't get addressed in other games or books.
That's true.
Because the interwar gets glossed over all the time. The Lost Generation. And it's the Lost Generation in France.
I mean, not even like as much as I say, like Victorious is a real gem that I don't think has been discovered in Trollord Games' catalog. That is a game you could take that Wretched Country, Cowpunchers, Wretched Epoch, and you could put them all together because they all take place around the same time period. But Wretched Epoch, what makes that so interesting is it does have that occult element. That's what I loved about it. When I first saw it, I was like, well, I'll give it a whirl, see how it goes. And I thought the same thing with Victorious, and I'm glad I have those books in my library now because they are a couple of my favorites. Even though I'm not a big Victorian era fan, I see some possibility for very, very big, very fun games to run.
I mean, if you want to talk kitchen sink Western flavor ridiculousness, I'm not saying this is an adventuring party, but if someone wants to make this an adventuring party, more power to you. There was a meme or a screenshot that pointed out some years ago that you could have a game or a setting or a movie or a book, right, with Sherlock Holmes, Wild Bill Wild Bill, Cody, or Hickok.
Buffalo
right?
Bill Cody and Wild Bill Hickok.
Yeah. An aging retired Joan Lafitte, right?
Oh my God.
And a samurai warrior, all in the same game, all in the same region, and it's historically accurate.
Well, I know, like, dude, where I'm going back to that area in Louisiana that I'm going back to here in a couple weeks. That is Jean Lafitte territory, man.
Right.
The fact that you brought him up, I was like, whoa, my mind's just blown.
Well, because the late 19th century was the end of privateering, base piracy, right? It's the rise of criminology. You still have cowboys, right? And the Meiji Restoration is underway all at the same time. So all those character types exist, right?
Yeah.
There's no reason you couldn't have a game about them. And then, of course, if you made it a Wretched game, that's even funnier.
It is. And Miguel, I mean, we've been rambling on here. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts if you have any.
About what?
Well, about the situation. Like, I know
yeah.
that I know since there are alternatives to drive-through. I know there aren't any as big, but
I'm going to change this because Sylvia had the problem with the.
Oh, okay. So now we're on the same cam, everyone.
Well, also, I'm gonna fangirl for a minute. They look cute together. They're the cutest couple in gaming, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know what I did, but I blocked my camera and my mic access, and now I can't have it back. So I'm restarting the computer.
It's actually another thing that I always mention when I talk about Room. I point out that it's a man and wife couple in the game sphere, which is interesting only insofar as when you talk to people about tabletop RPGs, I think everyone assumes that it's some lone wizard in a cavern hole basement. Someone who looks a lot like Grim Jim, leaning over a tome with a quill and ink, writing in baby blood. And it's like, no, you got Miguel and Sylvia, who just look like some normal people. They look very professional. They're very friendly. They're nice. You'd like them.
Let's go down the list for just a second. So, okay, the Wretched Verse. This is hey, Ryan's here from the Nerdcognito channel. What's up, Ryan? Cal's here. Welcome, everyone. But
I've made it.
This is it's been almost a year, and you guys have what 30 some odd books out there.
I'm a slow half-ass.
You won an award only for that to get walked back, and you still kept the trophy because they were like, "Oh, would you mind sending it back?" You're like, "Fuck yeah, we would." Make another one, and then this. So my question is like, okay, I know that this door has closed, and unfortunately, for the time being, it doesn't look like there's a way back. My question is this: I know
I just closed my drive-through account while you guys were talking. I was closing deleting completely the account. So
I mean, if they came to you, if they came to you with their hat in hands, and was like, "Mr. Red Room, would you like to come back to our storefront? We'd really, really like you." I believe the answer would be a giant go
They're
to
not
hell.
going to do that, obviously.
They won't do it, but no.
But let's say in a hypothetical where they would, you'd tell them to go get bent.
Yeah, especially after not only the way they dealt with us, but the answer that they gave Grimjin. I wouldn't trust them as a publisher, even if I wasn't involved in this. If I was watching this happen to someone else, I probably would think, I don't want to have my things on drive-through.
Yeah, and that was something I was going to bring up earlier. Like with Wretched is the New Black, that was one of the biggest hesitations that I had was DriveThruRPG. I know everybody goes there, but the problem is just the way they handled their creators. And that was one of those factors I didn't want to talk about because I was like, we all know that's going to happen. And here's the thing, a game like that or that setting, because that's where I was going to go with it, was a setting for Retchploitation. The setting is a prison. That is not a cradle school, and many of the adult themes in that. And let me tell some of you this. It wouldn't have been like blatantly there, but themes of rape, violence, murder, drugs, nudity, sex, all of that would have been implied in that setting. I don't think it's beyond people's comprehension to think that. But DriveThruRPG would have had a huge problem with that, even though it would just be kind of like the setting itself and some NPCs, and the game itself would have been left to the player to decide how that plays out, or if that plays out, and which tropes they wanted to use. But it looks like they would have put the kibosh on that, and I think that's exactly it. The spin they put on their exit letter reeks of "never trust us," and that's why I would trust Big Geek Emporium and Lulu with it far more than I would have than DriveThruRPG.
I always say with regards to this, and then I'll shut up, let Miguel and Matilda talk because I can ramble forever. I always say that the only reason they get away with this shit is because our antitrust laws here in America only go so far as people give a shit, right? Because technically you're not allowed to have a monopoly. And the very idea of a quote-unquote practical monopoly, where you have an almost monopoly, but not really a monopoly, is bullshit. That subverts the spirit of the law, right?
Yeah, look at cable companies.
If it was a vital resource like water or electricity, and the government cared about it because they need that, right? They'd come down on it. But because it's video games, because it's tabletop role-playing games, because it's movies, and those are all elective entertainments, right? They are seen as optional, and therefore it doesn't matter. It's not our problem if they have a monopoly. That's your problem. Go make your own source. Never mind that they've already stolen up all the market share and made it so any attempt to make a competing business in free competition will get stomped, right? That's just coincidence, guys. That's the thing. It's like DriveThruRPG should never have had this much power to begin with, ever. There should have been a multitude of cottage stores all selling different levels of RPG investment.
Yeah, I personally I knew something bad was coming when DriveThruRPG was. I mean, let's face it. I've seen some of pundits work on Amazon. I've seen some of these creators are available in other places. That much is true. But where does everybody go?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and exactly. I think it's that's why I say personally, my boycott is in place. I'm letting everyone know what mine is. I'm encouraging others to do the same when and where you can. I'm not in this weird headspace where I think you can just drop ties with them and walk away, though that would be preferable. But I think if we put enough pressure on Roll20, I think that's a good source because there's plenty of others out there. I think if we just decided tomorrow en masse, we don't need you, I think a lot of things would change. I really wish that DriveThruRPG had done what they did with D&D Beyond, put out a survey and let people take it, and then they could see exactly where they could go with it. But unfortunately, this is a case of, how can I put it, a little bit of nanny statism. We know what's best. You sit down, you shut up, you take it and you listen. Otherwise, we can deny you any and everything. And I'm like, that's wrong.
So we can censor your products and you can't complain about that.
And that's the problem. Yep.
Okay, but everybody but you complained. Of course I did.
Why can't we complain? So,
yeah, why can we not question that kind of thing?
I mean, we know where everybody wants. even though DriveThruRPG won't admit it, and they'll say, well, there's no metrics and blah, blah, blah. The Hellraiser movie that recently came out was one of the highest viewed films at release.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Men, at least for the day it was up, did reasonably well, if I understand it correctly. As you just said, the Red Room got an award, and then they tried to take it away. But I'm sorry, the Red Room got an award, right? People want what they're making. They like this kind of stuff. The only people who say that they don't are moral guardians who don't want you to have it.
And guys, what I know there were a few of your games that actually went copper and silver recently, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She remembers that.
I remember that better. So silver, I think it was, of course, Wretched Epoch, Wretched Bastards, Daughters of Darkness, Labi. I don't think it was silver, right? No, it was just bronze, but it was very Cooper, but it was very fast. Copper. I always say Cooper. I'm not sure if we had another silver now. I don't remember, but almost all of our scenarios were getting bronze.
I mean, a copper labia is pretty impressive to look at.
I would mind to be silver, but then, by the way, if man would still in drive-thru, it would be over. It will be already copper. For how much it's sold in Big Geek.
Maybe it would be. It's still selling, so it would be silver very quickly.
So here's my question: because I'm not sure, how many copies would have to be sold for copper, silver, gold, and adamantine?
Copper, 100 for silver. Gold, I'm not sure if it's 250. 250, and then I don't know, because I wasn't expecting to get to the other one, which is Electrum, I think.
Yeah, there was Electrum and I think adamantine, which I think that has to sell a lot.
And the book could have reached gold.
Yeah, probably.
They were going that way.
But
Epoch was also silver.
I mean, everybody, there's your marching orders. If for whatever reason you can't help the Red Room out by sticking it to DriveThruRPG for their shitty business practices, help the Red Room out by making men the equivalent in sales of gold or adamantine.
And
sorry.
Let me
man, but that's fashionable right now.
Let's see what happens.
Help the Red Room in general, but I'm just saying, it would embarrass them if they discovered they'd kicked off a cash cow.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna say this. I don't think that Big Geek Emporium quite has a ranking system yet, similar to DriveThru. However, I can say this: men should be bronzed and tanned with washboard abs.
And, yes, and wonderful hair.
And hey, god damn it, I have no hair, fucker. Anyway, but I will say this: Lulu's print-on-demand books, in my opinion, have better quality than what DriveThruRPG has to offer. So, I've bought tons of books off Lulu, and the only letdown I've ever had was Hostile Solo. That was because of the post office. That was not because of Lulu. So let me make that clear.
God damn it!
And Lulu actually sent me another copy. They got wind of it. I let them know, hey, I think the Postal Service lost the book you sent. And I gave them the case number, and they sent me a copy. So Lulu has always done right by me. I love that service. I think Big Geek Emporium, is it as big as DriveThruRPG? No, but it has a great selection there. You can still get you can still get your stuff there.
So
I still recommend everybody who creates RPGs, especially independently, put it on Big Geek Emporium as well if you can. I know some people have sort of a contract with DriveThru. I would say once that contract's up, also pop it onto Big Geek Emporium and redirect. And
Wolfgar, we got to do it now.
What's that?
We got to get men and we got to run it.
Okay.
Because I now have an idea for a campaign
Oh
called
my gosh.
the Bro War.
The Bro
in
War.
which bro fights bro and bro murders bro.
Oh wow.
And it's like, and why? What caused this great schism? It's the balds versus hairs, skin versus hair.
Oh my God.
For which is the penultimate.
But I think this is a good one. Buy a print copy on Lulu, tweet a photo of it when received, and tag DriveThru.
There you go.
Yeah, we show them, hey, we're voting with our wallets. This is what we want. And I've been doing that with my mail calls when books come in, especially physical copies. Take pictures, mail call. Here's this, and I think it's pretty safe to assume most of what I get is going to be from Lulu, especially if it's a print on demand. The only exception, the most recent one, is Splinter versus Dragonlance Companion, which was really good. Unfortunately, there's only one place to get it, and that's through DriveThru. And DM's Guild is part of DriveThru, unfortunately. So I got the hair.
There we go. Shadow and Sun and I are in. But giant middle finger on that photo to DriveThru is optional.
Yeah, I would leave it out because I really want to focus more on this is what we want. This is where we got it. This is money you could have had.
Oh yeah, no, we should be mature. I'm just saying that urge exists.
Yeah, I know. The urge definitely exists. I mean, I've bought some. There are some books I have up here on my desk hutch that are from DriveThru, but that's because you can't get them anywhere else. And now that I've got them, it's like, okay, I really don't need much else. So I don't really need anything else. That's why I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, if you create something, you put it on Big Geek Emporium, I'm probably going to buy it. If it's on DriveThruRPG, sucks to be me, but I can't give them any more money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to close the account, so I'm
I'm gonna do the same. I just want to download all the books that I bought there.
Yeah, I gave it up. I was downloading them, but yeah.
I was actually just saying the other day, that's why I haven't left DriveThruRPG yet. I'm going to get an external hard drive and download my library of purchased goods. Yeah. And then I'm going to start closing it out because I've got it stored. I don't need their BS.
And here we go. What we need are stickers of the men cover and slap them all over the place.
Well, we can get actually, yeah, we can put them on the cover.
Yeah.
Look, we need to manjaculate these stickers all over things. That's what we need to do.
Oh, but
all over the wall.
Obviously, but let us point the obvious, because another thing that people are saying is that we wrote Men on purpose to get banned from DriveThru. We already said we didn't do it. But that would be really stupid. Why would you be in writing a book?
I gotta ask a stupid question because it just occurred to me. Do you guys happen to know, is Wraths on Big Geek Emporium?
I don't think so because it came from a Kickstart, so it's on DriveThru.
Yeah, it's on there.
I'm upset now because
isn't it on Lulu?
I'm not sure if it's on Lulu.
You're talking about Yuri's game?
So.
Yeah.
I actually told him to put that in my pin tweet, which he did, and I was glad he did it. And then this happened. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned it is because I was in the audience for Red Room's review and interview of Rats.
No, it was. I should have. I have to discover if it's somewhere else because
we need to ask him.
I don't know if I can buy it from DriveThru.
But that's the thing. I was super jazzed. It's like I don't have the money right now, but I'm going to get Rats, right? And now it's like, oh man, I want to support an indie creator, but I don't want to support DriveThruRPG.
Yeah.
And that also is hurting, especially after the OGL stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was a conspiracy theorist, we're gonna tinfoil hat time. One wonders if, like, did WotC bring some pressure on DriveThru through the DM skill to be like, hey, can you put the hammer down on some of these creators?
I understand that they put it on us because we are small. So what we were actually expecting was that the worst case scenario, they would do what they do to Venger and to Ragni. Everything they write needs to be pre-approved. That's what we're
That's what
counting
happens
with.
when people.
So maybe
start
we're
an
being
account.
stupid.
I also basically expected you to get a talking to. That's what I expected.
Well, I didn't, and I'll say this: it's because something John pointed out when he did his video, and when others were doing the videos on the rule changes that were coming up. It was literally in there, and I can't remember where. You know what? I'm going to look it up, and I believe that they've stated that there wouldn't be a warning for that kind of thing, and I'll try to pull that up real quick.
Yeah, I don't know, because I remember yesterday, I think I was saying that it should have been a warning.
Yeah. I don't know if you meant it should have been. I think he was talking about rules, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's so, that's still offensive. Like, you should always have at least a conversation when you're going to attack someone's livelihood. You know, this started, Wolfgar was talking about criminal acts on Twitter and how you can't do that. We was talking about a guy giving instructions on how to steal catalytic converters, right?
Mm-hmm.
My old man, little crazy, but always said you don't mess with another man's horse. And he always talked about his vehicle like a horse. Not because he anthropomorphized it, but because he was saying, this is my livelihood you're messing with. This is the thing that I used to go around town. This is the thing I go to work with. I can't not have my horse, right? And in this country, we have a history. You mess with somebody's horse, you're looking to get shot.
And here it is. It's our policy regarding potentially offensive content. See product standard guidelines. Reported by customers is to deactivate such titles while they're being reviewed. So again, that means if it's on the first day, or if it's within the first couple weeks, you're losing a big share of your sales. Publishers who deliberately court controversy by making public declarations or accusations of censorship resulting from this process in order to draw attention to their products will be considered to use hostile marketing. Publishers who direct or support public accusations of impropriety or censorship toward one bookshelf, which is basically DriveThruRPG, when their controversial titles are rejected or removed from our marketplace will also be considered to use hostile marketing. This behavior will not be tolerated. We have adopted a strict one warning policy for those who engage in hostile marketing.
There
was no warning.
Yeah.
We got some information that the title is potentially offensive, it's going to be reviewed. That's not a warning of hostile marketing.
That's true.
Exactly. And then
if they think that there was already that there had been already some hostile marketing,
and we have been warned about it
the other time, but there was no warning. So if they think that these guys already did some hostile marketing, whatever it is, but they didn't warn us.
We never got any warning.
Yeah, there was no warning. Those emails I posted were the only emails I got. So they only contacted me announcing or informing that something was reported, something was taken down, something was removed temporarily, just that.
And it's the same thing as always. Who says, right? If this was the cops, if this was any kind of government institution, if this was any kind of major business, they have to publish their policies. I mean, a major business not in this sphere. They have to publicly publish their policies, which includes, more often than not, a either third party or a structured internal review process and how that review process works. You have to announce all that stuff because you have to give informed consent. It's legalism.
In this case, I think we know who is doing the reviews. It's the person who contacts you. So it's Adam Jury, and it's some woman, and
but what I'm saying is like, what are their guidelines to judge offensive content, right? I don't think that part is publicly stated. I think it's like someone's going to review it. Okay, who? Someone. Well, why? Because it's offensive. How? Because we said so. By what metric? By our metrics. That's not an answer, right? You deserve to.
The policy. They basically say that we will censor you, but you can't complain about censorship.
Right.
It's basically
it says we will censor you for any reason at any time As long as we deem your content offensive, you're
If you
not allowed to
complain,
complain about it.
you're
And
not.
if you complain about it, you're out. That's not good. That's a bad.
Well, here's what the rest of it says. The first incident will prompt a warning, which never came, and after a second incident, their accounts will be removed from our site and permanently and immediately. That's not what happened. This was a single incident that never got a warning.
They might say that there was a first incident because I don't know. Perhaps when the sexual holocaust was removed, we probably. I can't remember.
I don't know, but
we
nobody noticed at the time. It was small. It was beginning, but we had no warning.
But there was no warning. So
Yes.
if there was this is the second incident, it still lacks the first warning. So there was no warning.
And here's on this article, it says the underlying problem with this amended policy by DriveThruRPG is that as it's currently written, it can be applied to any form of criticism. If a tabletop developer sells something through this company, then has some concerns regarding DriveThruRPG's policies, finds their concerns being shuffled around through internal sources, just like Grim Gems were, then voices those same concerns on social media, they can just lose a major distribution for their work. Even if those concerns are argued in good faith, the company can just mark it as defamatory or derogatory, pull the game from sale, and simply not work with that creator. It relies too much on one bookshelf's leadership to be of good nature regarding criticism, something that can easily shift and change over time as employees come and go, which is true. And that's exactly what happened with Grim Jim's letter. There were a whole lot of non-answers. There were entire sections they skipped answering altogether. And the rest, they acted like a parent.
Right, there was a bit of threat there. Oh, this letter is but you are complaining. You send this letter publicly, so be careful.
That was the how can I put that, the how badly do you want your account to remain up?
And it's the same lesson we just learned and we just talked about with the OGL, right? The OGL was created in good faith. The OGL was a wonderful document, and it's great as long as everybody involved stays great. And WotC changed over time, and now WotC's a shithole in Minecraft.
I don't even think you have to include in Minecraft for that.
And the OGL almost got taken out, and it's still not saved. Nope. It's still on shaky ground.
Very much
right?
So.
That's why I was disheartened. Sorry, I'm gonna bring up the bad stuff, guys. I was disheartened when I found out there were people who were lining up to scowl at the Red Room and be like, "Well, you made a bad game. You made men." It's like, right, but this isn't about.
You were asking for it.
Not only is
how you were dressed.
Right. Not only is this not about, again, whether men is good or not. And like you guys say, you guys didn't even make it. You just published it for someone else who made it. But also, it's us falling into the factionalism or the sectarianism and the self-interested propensities, the tribalism that major corporations have always exploited to hurt us as gamers, right? We're not as unified as metalheads were in the late 80s going before the PMRC, right? We've always been, I'm at my table doing my thing and I don't care what other people are doing. And it's like, that's good as far as it goes. It even has a very strong place. But the fact of the matter is that when they start trying to control the media, you got to say no. And you can't be like, well, I'll defend the rights of media to exist for these products I like, but not this product I hate. It's like, it's either all protected or none of it's protected, guys.
And one point I brought up was the same people that are screaming about books on sexuality being quote unquote banned, or these banned books from school libraries, are the same people who in all likelihood who did this.
Yeah, that's right.
So this is what I've always said. I've said this. Both sides are book burners. Both extreme ends of the spectrum are book burners. One will burn your books about subjects they don't like, they don't care for, and so will the other. There's literally no exception. They cannot, like, to give an example, Stephen King posted this to Twitter where he was like, no book should be banned. And I'm like, I could get you to flip on that. I can absolutely get you to flip on that. And I guarantee it won't take but about 10 seconds. And it'll just take two questions. Number one, do you believe that the Communist Manifesto should be a book on the shelf? Because I do.
Right.
As weird as that sounds coming from me,
Look,
I think that book should exist on a shelf. And the next question is, would you also be comfortable with Mein Kampf existing right next to it?
Well, I mean, I would say all you do is you say the Turner Diaries and everyone's panties twist into a bundle.
Exactly. And the argument that I go with is simply this. If there's a game I find objectionable anywhere, whether it's on a physical bookshelf, a digital bookshelf, or whatever, it doesn't matter. Whether I think it should exist or not, I simply won't buy it. If I think it's that objectionable, I won't buy it. I won't recommend it to friends. If anyone says, hey, what do you think about this game? I'll be like, there's something you should probably know. Mm-hmm. If there's a book that I love sitting on a shelf, virtual or otherwise, I will tell people about that book till the end of the world, like Labyrinth, the adventure game. That one was written by a fellow YouTuber, Questing Beast. I love that game. I think it's great. I want to run it one day. The Dark Crystal, I think it's great. I want to run it one day. Any of the books on my shelves, I do have some to varying degrees that I love or I don't. And Monster of the Week, if I had to put it up next to Night Shift, I'm going to choose Night Shift. I think it's a decent book. I just like the system for Night Shift a lot better. I like the tone of Night Shift a little better. And I can do the exact same thing with Night Shift that I can with Monster of the Week. But Monster of the Week is more like an episodic type of game. It's not meant for longer campaigns. So that's a bit of a difference there. But all you need is really one book. And if you want to get a little more serious, I think Night Shift is the way to go. When it comes to books like
Wretched Darkness.
Wretched Darkness, exactly. Wretched Darkness takes an even more serious tone. And if I find people that really want that more serious tone, who want to play it a little more metal, yeah, I'm pulling that one down. It's gonna be it's gonna be a thing. And I think Cal's right. You must know the extremes to appreciate everything else. And I don't think that there isn't a means of compromise here, but I think it's going to take DriveThru softening on that policy. I think they're going to have to understand that if you're going to act as a publisher, it comes with some responsibilities.
My thing is that despite being a big scary pagan, oh no, pagans, in my practical day-to-day living, I am more or less secular humanist. Okay? And the basic thesis of humanism, going all the way back to its foundations in the 15th fucking century, was we have to recognize the fundamental humanity of others. Because before that, it's wall-to-wall murder time. Right? Lord wants to expand his power, you declare war on your neighbor, you destroy them. And it's like, but they're people. It's like, no, they are my foes. You needed humanism to get people to start thinking about the idea that they were people, right? One day, the culture wars are going to shift. They're going to go somewhere else. They're going to be doing something else. It's not going to be our gamer problem, right? And we will have to conduct fair interactions with these people. Some of them will go back to being decent human beings. Some of them might even feel bad about things they've done. Some of them will continue to be pieces of shit and we'll just ignore them. Right?
Yep.
But ultimately, we cannot dehumanize opposition, even if we don't like them. Because that's what they're doing to us. They're saying we're not people. Right?
That's it. Well,
as far as they're concerned, Sylvia doesn't exist because women would never enjoy men. As far as they're concerned, I don't exist because clearly cripples all want the combat wheelchair. Right?
Right.
And none of it is true. Obviously, we're people, we exist.
It's not enough for some of these people to have what they've already got.
Right.
They have to have it for everyone.
We were once told that someone once made a comment that about one of our lovers, one of our fans, about my how it was body language. It was obviously I was being forced to be on the video.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I didn't want to be there.
Yeah, that's true.
And thanks for stopping in, Ryan. We really appreciate the support, man.
Well, by the way, we have to leave
Yeah,
as
we
well.
also have to go.
Yeah, and it's about time for us to close out too. It's been a little over 2 hours. So,
well,
thank you, guys, Miguel, Sylvia, thank you so much for joining. It was great having you on, as always. And you're always welcome back.
To close out, Wolfgar, do we want to play that other video I sent you?
Oh yeah, that one. Oh my goodness, dude, I watched this last night and I couldn't stop laughing. And I'm like, this needs to be a thing. And I'm going to pause it for just a second because I think everybody wants to see this. It's going to happen, and we'll close out on this one.
We need a DriveThruRPG version of this now.
We need a DriveThruRPG version. Yes. There we go. Hey, we're not Starfleet. Yeah. Here's the thing about that, and it's one of the things that I wanted to point out. The reason Star Trek works is because of replicator technology.
Yeah.
If not for that, it doesn't work. Sorry for the thing there. Here we go. We're going to share this one. Here we go. Hasbro and WotC. This is a Marley and Marley parody. I'm going to go ahead and blow this up full. Here we go. Boom.
Why do you come to me? We're Hasbro and WotC, out of touch with free. We took advantage of the fans, just ignored the pleading. We're monetizing everything, draining your account. And if we do not like your speech, we'll simply throw you out. This was the year we overpriced the entire anniversary. I remember the players all standing in the card shops with their little devalued. We're Hasbro and WotC. Our decks are mono black. Should have known our sneaky deals would get us both in trouble. Faith are down in double time, bombarded by the hate. As freedom comes with 1.0, they have to close the gate. We're Hasbro and WotC. We're Hasbro and WotC.
My friends, you were not unfaithful towards your fellow men.
True, there was something about customers we love. I think it was their money. Ours too. It's ours for all time. We'll take your creativity if we perceive a crime. Your fate is judged by what you say and do.
You had your fun, but now you're done. You only have this through.
What a terrible change.
Oh, the fans! Some will claim they've won by their acts of rage, but we also won ourselves.
Come back. Speak comfort to me, friends.
Frankly, you will be gaslit by 3 spokesmen.
I've already had enough of that.
Without this change, we cannot hope to increase our own stock scores. Expect the first post tonight when the bell tolls 10.
Can't I meet them all at once and get it over with?
When the bell tolls 10. Hasbro and WotC. Hasbro and WotC. Hasbro and WotC. Play.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're out. Thank you so much for joining us. Just remember, we love you all. Take care of yourselves and each other. Always play what lights you up, and as always, play on.
Bye.